My name is Derek Harding, and I worked for a few years at Trist colliery, Tredegar, which is just down the valley, about a quarter of a mile. I worked there from 1948 to 1959. When I went there as an apprentice really, because I was intended to go in for mining engineering. But that was thrown out because at the time there was no future for the collieries in South Wales. They were all quietly being closed, and Trist actually closed on January the 31st, 1959. Nigel Bevan, who was of course our local member of parliament, worked in Trist from the age of 14. He later progressed then to be our MP. When I went to Trist in end of 1948, I started off as all apprentices do. I started off working in the fitting shop and then in the blacksmith shop and mostly on the surface. I went underground on certain occasions. With the job, we were either a fitter or a blacksmith, and I worked with the fitters and blacksmiths. The fitting shop had about 5 or 6 fitters, and the blacksmiths had about 6 blacksmiths, including a shoeing smith who shoed the horses. That was very interesting. I helped him a lot underground with the pit ponies. There's not much left of the colliery down. Just behind me now there's a huge wheel. In those days they called them sheaves. Now why that name I don't know, but what it did, the purpose of that wheel, there were 2 of them side by side on a pit framing, and the purpose was, of course, when a tram of coal at the bottom of the pit was ready to come up, it was loaded onto the carriage, and at the top simultaneously an empty one was ready to go down. There'd be one tram replacing the other all the time, a full tram coming up and an empty tram going down. When the coal got to the top then, it was pushed off and it was processed then in a building called the screens. Screening coal, and all that meant was a gang of men, hard-working men, on a steel belt. They had to go through that coal, which had been tipped onto the belt, and they had to sort out all the rubbish, or muck it would be called. Muck was what they call there, and they threw that one side, and the good coal went through to the end of the belt and went down a slope into a truck, and then eventually it was taken away. It was either taken away as lump coal, or it was processed higher up the valley, about 200 yards, into a washery, and then it was converted into small coal. That was the term there, small coal. For about 2 years I worked in a blacksmith shop helping the blacksmiths. I was known as a blacksmith striker. When they worked on an anvil, I was there as my hammer, and we made all sorts of different things. But unfortunately, one of the jobs, which was an extra job really, which many people refused to do, was to climb up the pit framing on an outside ladder as the wheels had to be lubricated. It was quite a height, the pit framing, so to get up to it, which wouldn't be considered a health and safety, I'm afraid, I had to climb up step by step up about 100 odd feet, get up to the top and get as close to the wheel as I could, and at the side there were bearings, grease bearings. There were 2 caps. I had to empty the caps, take them off and put fresh grease in them, and then put the caps back on, and then actually twist them down, screw them down tight, and there was a plunger at the top. As you press the plunger, the grease would go through and land on the actual shaft itself. So as the wheels were turning, the grease would be lubricating the shaft. If you didn't do that, eventually they would seize up. So this wheel is all that's left of Trist, an echo of our mining industry.